Hello, everyone. Today, I want to talk about a feeling many people experience at some point in their lives. Boredom. Not just a quiet moment with nothing to do, but a deeper feeling. The feeling that life itself has become repetitive. The feeling that every day looks almost the same. Imagine a typical morning. The alarm rings. You wake up. You prepare for the day. Breakfast, work, messages, tasks. The hours pass quietly. Soon evening arrives. You return home. Maybe you watch something. Maybe you scroll through your phone. Maybe you rest for a while, and then the day ends. Tomorrow begins in almost the same way. The same alarm, the same routine, the same schedule. For a while, this rhythm feels normal, even comfortable. But over time, something subtle begins to change. The days start blending together. Nothing feels particularly new. Nothing feels particularly exciting. And slowly, a quiet question appears in the mind. Is this all there is? Many people feel this at some point, sometimes in their 20s. Sometimes later in life, sometimes during periods when everything seems stable. Life is not necessarily bad. Nothing dramatic has gone wrong. Yet something feels missing. The energy that once existed begins to fade. Activities that once felt interesting begin to feel ordinary. Even enjoyable things may feel less exciting than before. This feeling can be confusing, because from the outside, everything may appear normal. Work continues, life continues, responsibilities are handled. But inside the mind, something feels different. The days begin to feel predictable. The future begins to look similar to the present, and the excitement that once existed begins to feel distant. Many people quietly wonder why this happens. Why does life sometimes feel dull even when nothing is wrong? Why do moments that once felt meaningful begin to feel routine? Understanding this feeling is important because boredom is not simply a lack of activity. Sometimes boredom is a signal, a quiet message from the mind asking for something different. And once we begin to understand that message, the story becomes much more interesting. To understand why life sometimes feels boring, we need to look at how the human mind experiences novelty. The brain naturally enjoys new experiences, new places, new ideas, new challenges. These experiences create curiosity. They wake up the mind. They make time feel alive. But when life becomes very predictable, the brain slowly adapts. The same environment, the same routine, the same conversations. At first, this routine provides stability. Stability can feel comfortable, but over time, the mind begins to crave variation. Without small changes, the brain stops paying attention to the details of everyday life. Imagine walking the same street every day. The first time you notice everything, the buildings, the sounds, the small movements around you. But after many days, the mind stops observing these details. The street becomes familiar. The brain saves energy by ignoring what it already knows. Life begins to feel faster. Days pass quickly. Not because time is moving faster, but because the mind is noticing less. Another reason life may feel boring is the way modern life delivers constant stimulation. Every day, people consume large amounts of entertainment and information. Short videos, endless scrolling, quick updates, fast entertainment. These experiences give the brain quick bursts of excitement. But quick stimulation also changes the brain's expectations. Slow moments begin to feel less interesting. Ordinary activities begin to feel less rewarding. Reading quietly, walking outside, working patiently on something meaningful. These experiences require deeper attention. But when the brain becomes used to constant stimulation, deeper experiences may initially feel dull. Another quiet reason boredom appears is the absence of challenge. The human mind grows through difficulty, learning something new, trying something unfamiliar, solving problems. These experiences create engagement. But when life becomes too comfortable, challenge slowly disappears. Without challenge, growth slows down. Without growth, motivation fades. And without motivation, everyday life begins to feel repetitive. There is also another subtle reason people feel bored. Meaning. When activities feel connected to something meaningful, energy often appears naturally. People feel engaged when they believe their actions matter. Helping someone, creating something, improving a skill, working toward a purpose. But when daily actions feel disconnected from meaning, motivation can slowly disappear. People may continue completing tasks, but those tasks feel empty, like movement without direction. Another powerful influence comes from comparison. Today, people constantly see the lives of others online. Travel photos, achievements, exciting moments. When someone watches many exciting highlights from other lives, ordinary moments may begin to look less interesting. But this comparison hides an important truth. Most lives contain many quiet days. Most lives contain routine. Even the people who appear exciting online experience ordinary mornings and ordinary evenings. Yet the mind still compares, and comparison quietly amplifies the feeling of boredom. But once we begin to understand these patterns, something important becomes possible. We begin to see that boredom is not always a problem. Sometimes boredom is simply a signal that the mind is ready for something new. And that realization leads to the next part of the story. There is also another pattern that appears when life begins to feel boring. Comfort slowly replaces curiosity. At first, comfort feels good. A stable job, a familiar environment, predictable days. These things create security. Security is valuable. But when life becomes too predictable, curiosity slowly fades. The mind begins to move through the day automatically. Morning happens. Work happens. Evening arrives. And the routine repeats. Without noticing it, many decisions begin happening on autopilot. We wake up the same way. We follow the same schedule. We react to the same situations. The brain no longer needs to explore. It simply repeats what it already knows. Another reason boredom grows is the absence of small risks. Trying something new always contains a little uncertainty. A new hobby, a new idea, a new conversation with someone unfamiliar. These moments create small sparks of excitement. But many people slowly stop taking these small risks. They remain inside comfortable patterns, safe patterns, familiar patterns. Over time, life becomes smoother, but it also becomes quieter, less surprising, less stimulating. Another quiet factor that influences boredom is attention. Modern life constantly divides attention into many small pieces. Notifications appear, messages arrive, videos play automatically. The mind jumps from one stimulus to another. Because attention is scattered, experiences become shallow. Moments pass without being fully experienced. A conversation may happen while checking a phone. A meal may happen while watching a screen. A walk may happen while listening to endless information. When attention is divided, experiences lose depth. And when experiences lose depth, they begin to feel less meaningful. Another interesting effect of constant stimulation is that the brain becomes less sensitive to simple pleasures. Small joys once felt exciting. Listening to music, reading a story, watching the sunset. But when the brain becomes used to high levels of stimulation, these quieter experiences may initially feel less powerful. This does not mean the experiences themselves have changed. It means the brain's expectations have changed. Another hidden cause of boredom is the distance between dreams and daily actions. Many people carry ideas about what they would like to do someday. A creative project, a different career, a personal goal. But daily life often moves in a different direction. Responsibilities take priority. Schedules become full. Time feels limited. Slowly, the distance between what we imagine and what we do becomes larger. And this distance creates a subtle sense of dissatisfaction. Life may appear stable from the outside, but inside the mind, a quiet question remains. Am I moving toward something meaningful? When this question remains unanswered for a long time, boredom begins to grow deeper. But understanding these patterns reveals something important. Boredom is not always a sign that life is empty. Sometimes it is a signal that the mind is ready for change, ready for curiosity again, ready to explore something unfamiliar. And once we begin to see boredom as a signal instead of a problem, the way we respond to it can begin to change. That realization leads naturally to the final part of the story. At this point, an important question appears. If boredom is a signal from the mind, how should we respond to it? Many people try to escape boredom by searching for more stimulation, more entertainment, more distractions, more noise. But stimulation does not always solve the deeper feeling. Sometimes it only hides it for a short time. When the distraction ends, the same question quietly returns. Instead of escaping boredom, it may be more helpful to listen to it. Boredom can be a message, a quiet signal that the mind is ready for something different, something meaningful, something that invites curiosity again. Often the solution does not require dramatic change. Small changes can awaken the mind in surprising ways. Trying something unfamiliar, learning a new skill, exploring a different idea, even small variations in routine can bring life back into focus. Walking a new path, reading something unexpected, starting a project that has been waiting quietly in the background. These small shifts remind the brain that life is still full of discovery. Another powerful way to respond to boredom is through attention. Boredom sometimes appears not because life lacks interesting moments, but because the mind has stopped noticing them. When attention becomes scattered, the richness of ordinary moments disappears. But when attention returns to the present moment, even simple experiences can become meaningful again. A conversation becomes deeper. A walk becomes more peaceful. A quiet moment becomes something worth noticing. The mind begins to rediscover details that were once invisible. Another important shift happens when people reconnect with curiosity. Curiosity is a natural human ability. Children explore the world constantly. They ask questions. They experiment. They observe small details with excitement. But as people grow older, routines and responsibilities often replace curiosity. Yet curiosity never truly disappears. It simply becomes quieter. When curiosity returns, life begins to feel more alive. Questions appear again. Ideas appear again. the world begins to feel larger instead of smaller. Another important part of overcoming boredom is meaning. Meaning gives direction to daily actions. When people feel connected to something meaningful, energy often follows naturally. This meaning can take many forms: helping someone, creating something, learning something new, improving a skill, working toward a goal that feels personal. Meaning does not always appear suddenly. Often it grows slowly through small efforts repeated over time. A project that begins quietly may slowly become something deeply important. Another helpful perspective is learning to accept ordinary moments. Not every day needs to be extraordinary. Life contains many quiet hours, simple routines, familiar places. These moments are not empty. They are the background where meaningful experiences grow. When people stop expecting constant excitement, they begin appreciating calm moments differently. Peace becomes valuable. Stillness becomes meaningful. Life begins to feel balanced instead of constantly demanding stimulation. Over time, people often notice something surprising. The same life that once felt boring begins to feel different. Not because everything changed dramatically, but because attention changed. Curiosity returned. Meaning appeared in small places, and the mind stopped searching endlessly for constant excitement. Instead, it began noticing the quiet richness of everyday life. Boredom no longer feels like a problem to escape. It becomes a reminder that life still contains unexplored paths, new questions, new possibilities. And when people respond to that reminder with curiosity, the feeling of boredom slowly transforms into something else, a quiet invitation to grow. Thank you for listening today. If life has felt repetitive or dull at times, remember that boredom may simply be your mind asking for a new direction. Sometimes the smallest step toward curiosity can open an entirely new chapter of experience. See you in the next story.